making an absolute out of what I'm putting forth as a conditional historical thing. I'm not saying that, anything that's developed as a result of political struggle is therefore just, or anything like that, or there is no basis. I'm just saying there is no God deciding it. And if it's your God, it's a up basis to do it, because your God likes slavery. Your God likes genocide.
Okay, so all you got to do is
that's what I'm rejecting.
all you got to do is read Friedrich Nietzsche. Friedrich Nietzsche does a great job pointing out that you can't hold the position you're holding, because this is what you're doing. You're grabbing the goody-goodies from a theistic worldview, from God existing. In fact, you are grabbing the goody-goodies from a biblical Christian worldview, but you're denying the God who's behind it. You love the ethic, which is human rights. Sir, if there is no God, there is no such thing as human rights. If there is no God, sir, we are all hunks of primordial slime evolved to a higher order. If there is no God, your birth is an accident, your death is an accident. The only thing that lies between those two accidents is another accident, your life. There's no such thing as a human right. There's no such thing as human dignity if there is no God. If there is no God, we're all glorified slime evolved to a higher order. And to sit out here and talk about human rights as if they were absolute, as if they were objective, is a trip into la-la land, fantasy land.
Welcome to a new video. In this video, we will have two heated debates with two men who cross the line of respect. I hope you enjoy it, and let's get to it.
Why do you need to convince other people to come to Jesus?
Why?
It's yours. It's your belief.
No.
What if I believe in something different? We have our prophets.
You have a
They
right
were
to
murdered.
You have a right to believe whatever you want to believe.
By Christians, by Jesus freaks. We're afraid of us because we look different, because we spoke a different language. That's why they murdered us, because they gave us a Bible and then they took this land. And now we got people who don't even know what's going on, confused, don't even know their history. America hasn't learned anything from their history because they haven't been taught their own history. And people like you confuse them. I learned Jesus had a wife and kid. But you probably don't believe that because the Catholic Church was withholding that.
All right.
Jesus was a pimp, man. He had women, like all prophets, like all men. Catholics made up their own religion. That's what I learned. Read a book.
Yeah, right. You learned that from Dan Brown?
I read all kinds of books, man, not just Dan Brown.
Yeah, well,
Not just the
Dan
Bible.
Brown wrote a
Not
book
just
of
the
fiction
Bible.
called The Da Vinci Code, sir.
Exactly.
And it is fiction.
Exactly. I read it, cover to cover.
Yeah, I believe you read it. I believe it.
Well, what have you read? Have you read Rob Williams? Western Thought, Legal Mind?
No, I've not read Rob Williams.
Well, I suggest you read that. It'll tell you the whole history of the...
Oh, I have studied it, don't worry.
The Bible was used to colonize indigenous people all over the world. To
That's right.
Indigenous people all over
That
the world.
happened, that's correct. That happened. I'm very embarrassed by that fact, that's true.
Isn't that something that we should learn from?
Yes.
Well, why aren't you preaching about that? That'll make people's hearts better.
Yeah.
Make people spiritually enlightened.
Well, that's exactly what I've been doing. I've been pleading with...
No, you're railing on people in the crowd.
No, I'm answering questions that people raise. I'm not railing on anybody. I'm answering the questions people raise. I'm respecting people enough to take their questions seriously, as I'm taking yours seriously, and I'm going head to head with people. Now, you're absolutely right. Christianity has been used to oppress people, and I've talked with several gentlemen on this side how Christianity's been used to justify slavery,
Isn't that something
and that's wrong.
more important to learn from than just reading quotes from the Bible? Isn't that something that all Americans can learn from? That history, focusing on that.
That's right.
That's
We have to
right.
learn from our mistakes as Christians, no question about it.
And children should be taught the mistakes and they don't repeat it.
Absolutely
Again and again.
correct. You bet. And I teach my 3 children that racism, exploitation of people in the name of Christianity is sin, it's evil. In Jesus' best known parable, the parable of the Good Samaritan, he makes a direct frontal attack on racism and tells how a Samaritan gets down and helps a Jew who's been beaten and bloodied and left to die on the side of the road. Racism is sinful, it's evil. To think that you're a follower of Christ if you go out and are racist is wrong. It's a contradiction, it's hypocrisy.
We can see how this young man tries to debate in the sense of Christian integrity, putting social problems as the axis of the discussion. It is also visible how he uses the guilt of the ancient errors of the church as an argument. But Cliffe, with great skill, manages to undo the lies that this young man tries to establish.
That's right. And we should learn from that. That's what you should be preaching about. Because that's still a problem today.
It sure is a problem
It's
today.
still
You're
a big
absolutely right.
problem today. And
Yes.
people know it in their hearts. And they know in their hearts that it's wrong.
That's right.
That's human rights right there. That's human rights. Not some law, not some book. What you feel in your heart.
Okay, sir. But you see, the problem is
Someone else is done.
we all have a worldview, and our behavior comes from our worldview. If you view a woman simply as a good-looking hunk of meat on a hoof, that will determine how you treat her. Jesus and the Bible say that women are human beings created in the image of God. They're not hunks of meat on a hoof. So what you believe about reality will determine how you live your life. And if you believe in Christ and take him seriously, you can't be racist. Why? Because all human beings are created in the image of God. That means that all human beings have human rights. Not because we're arrogant and we think we're important. False. We have rights because we've been created by God.
Can we have a female pope? Can we have a black pope? Why can't we have a black pope? Why can't we have a black female pope? That's what I'd like to see.
Oh, great.
That's Christianity right there. That's what I'd
No,
like
no, I'm not standing out here saying, follow a church. I'm standing out here saying, look at Jesus Christ. He's far more reliable than any church. Right? You'd be a fool to put your faith in Christianity. Christianity's been used to oppress your race. So you'd be a fool to put your faith in Christianity, wouldn't you? But Jesus Christ, he's different.
No, Christianity has some good things to offer.
Good, what were they?
Just as long as people don't get confused, you know, with all the hype.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just as long as people read the Gospels, stick with Christ.
I think you're hype, man.
Well, if I'm all hyped, what on earth are you doing wasting your time out here talking to
Look at
me?
these cameras right here. Is that what a good Christian does?
Yeah.
You're
Yeah, people
getting
are
your
raising
name
very
out.
good issues. You've raised some good issues
You're getting
yourself.
your name. It's for yourself.
It is not. That's incredibly judgmental. You don't know what motivates me. Come on,
Why don't
sir.
you help people in your community instead of coming out and preaching?
How
Look
on
at these
earth do you
cameras.
know what I'm
Look at
doing?
these cameras. I can tell. Look at these cameras. You're all about yourself.
I am not
That's
all about myself.
Christian.
I'm not asking for your money. I'm not asking you to join my
asking for your
group.
attention.
I'm saying look at Jesus Christ.
We're gonna read about you on our school newspaper, and that makes you feel good. You like that? You're gonna show all your friends. Look, I made the paper again. Look, I'm on
You've
TV.
got to be kidding me.
That's Christian values, man.
You think my goal is to be on in a Arizona
Sure
paper?
is. Yeah, these guys on right here, man.
Now you're really getting low. Come on, man. I don't mean to insult any of you guys, but the goal of life is not to be on the Wildcat paper, okay?
It's funny to see that when this young man runs out of real arguments, he starts to attack Cliff personally for everything he does. However, with valid arguments, he makes him understand that he doesn't do it for personal benefit or money. But this is not the best part of this video. Let's see the following discussion.
What about I think it's the 10th one, thou shalt not covet?
Yes, sir.
It lists the things that you shouldn't covet,
Right?
including your neighbor's slave.
Right?
Does that mean slavery is a perfectly fine thing?
No?
Because it certainly seems like it, because it's not saying thou shalt not have slaves, thou
Right.
shalt not own another human being. It's just don't take them from your neighbor.
Right?
And there's a lot of other things in the Mosaic books that refer to, God saying, go into this area, conquer them, take slaves if you want, kill the babies, take the women as your concubines, and so on. I mean, it seems like if that's a moral absolute, then if you connect it with the other things that are especially in the Mosaic text, it seems like, part of the moral absolute is kill people who don't believe in God. It's okay to enslave people, and, any number of other horrors. So is that the absolute that you want to be basing any society on?
Okay, good question. Difficult question. Do you think slavery is wrong, and if so, why?
You're asking me?
Yes, sir.
I believe it's wrong because human beings have basic rights, and it's a complete distortion of another person's humanity to claim to own them in any way, or even exploit them. In my view,
Where do my rights come from? Where do these rights come from that you referred to?
Well, they certainly didn't come from the Bible, because the Bible upholds slavery. The Bible upholds that certain people are more important, and other people, you can wipe them out with impunity. So they certainly didn't come from the Bible. I believe they came from, the concrete political struggle of millions and millions of people around the world. You know, whether it's blacks in the U.S. or, you know, Quechua people in the Andes or whatever. That years ago, the Roman Empire took it up and enforced it across a large empire at the point of a sword. You know, that's a perfect example, in fact, of, you know, people winning a struggle and deciding what's right. Christianity, as you're preaching it, is only around because of the might of the Roman Empire and them enforcing it on, you know, not just their own populations, but other populations. I'm talking about something much different. I'm talking about, you know, a conscious political struggle by many people to assert their rights as human beings, regardless of what any, you know, secular or supposedly sacred institution is putting forth.
What I've heard you say is, we have human rights because the right people won the political warfare. You've said it rather clearly, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that the basis of human rights is political victories by those who assert that we all are equal.
I definitely would agree that it came about as a result of political victories won through struggle. Yes, I totally agree with that, because I don't believe there are any moral, you know, absolutes. There's nothing out there floating outside of, you know, the natural world and human existence that says, okay, that is the rock upon which everything is established.
All right.
No,
so if I'm living in Papua New Guinea and cannibalism is accepted by the political structure there, if my neighbor wants to eat me, according to your worldview, which is human rights are determined by the political system, it is okay for my neighbor to eat me.
That is not what I'm saying.
Well, then what are you saying? I thought you said flat out that human rights are based on political victories.
I said political rights and human rights were established through struggle. That is absolutely not the same thing as saying that any existing political system therefore has right on its side.
That's right. So what are you saying?
Exactly what I've been saying.
Yeah,
and you
which is real clear. You're saying, I, the individual, stand back and critique different cultures, different political systems, and I, as the individual, say, that political system is right, that political system is wrong. What makes you so sure you're right?
A, that is not what I'm saying.
Well, then what are you saying?
B, same thing I was always saying. It happens through collective, conscious political struggle by many millions of people.
Fine.
That's the kind of thing it's up. And there's absolutely nothing what I'm saying. It's actually what I'm critiquing is what you're putting forth, that there is some type of absolute thing.
You're doing a great job being a cynic. The problem is you're not putting forth why human rights are real. I asked you a head-to-head question, sir. What is the basis of human rights? Why do we have human rights? What are they? Where do they come from? What's the basis of them? You answered me by saying the political struggle has produced human rights. I'm saying really. Mm-hmm. Different political struggles have defined human rights differently.
Yeah.
Cannibalism, apartheid, Dred Scott decision.
Yeah.
So which one's right? Which one's wrong?
But
you are saying you decide is what I hear you saying.
At that moment, we can see how this man runs out of real arguments and begins to shoot at God without understanding that he is shooting at himself and his own argument, because Cliffe uses what he says against him to make him look ridiculous.
You're making an absolute out of what I'm putting forth as a conditional historical thing. I'm not saying that, you know, anything that's developed as a result of political struggle is therefore just, or anything like that, or there is no basis. I'm just saying there is no God deciding it. And if it's your God, it's a up basis to do it, because your God likes slavery. Your God likes genocide.
Okay. So all you got to do is...
That's what I'm rejecting.
All you got to do is read Friedrich Nietzsche. Friedrich Nietzsche does a great job pointing out that you can't hold the position you're holding, because this is what you're doing. You're grabbing the goody-goodies from a theistic worldview, from God existing. In fact, you are grabbing the goody-goodies from a biblical Christian worldview, but you're denying the God who's behind it. You love the ethic, which is human rights. Sir, if there is no God, there is no such thing as human rights. If there is no God, sir, we are all hunks of primordial slime evolved to a higher order. If there is no God, your birth is an accident, your death is an accident. The only thing that lies between those two accidents is another accident, your life. There's no such thing as a human right. There's no such thing as human dignity if there is no God. If there is no God, we're all glorified slime evolved to a higher order. And to sit out here and talk about human rights as if they were absolute, as if they were objective, is a trip into La La Land, fantasy land.
But again, that's not what I'm saying.
Well, then what are you saying?
Did I say that human rights were absolute? That they were, you know,
Yeah, you were
set in stone?
critiquing some as being better than others, some as being right and others being wrong. Yeah, you sure were. And you made some rather direct moral absolute statements about the Bible.
Yeah, I
You
do,
reeled
because-
back in moral
because I
indignation and
actually
said,
read it.
oh, look
And
what that
and
naughty,
I
naughty
believe
book
it
talks
says
about.
what it says.
Oh, what do you mean, naughty, naughty book? Aren't you a relativist? What do you mean, naughty, naughty book? Nietzsche did it, Camus, Sartre did it. I'm not making this stuff up. Just think. Read those guys. They're right. Bertrand Russell, one of the greatest atheistic philosophers, nailed it all over the head. If there is no God, there are no human rights, there's no justice. It's all meaningless. And if I say this guy's valuable, then he's valuable for me. But if this woman says he's a piece of dirt, then he's a piece of dirt.